nightmare. So I'm going to pull myself out of the stream here. I'm going to hand it over to you. So go for it, mate.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Okay, Rob Russ, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for that kind intro, Rob. Yeah, okay, so today I wanted to talk about, as my inaugural, subject matter, I settled on this brand new CBDC that's being rolled out. Now, CBDC, for those of you who don't know, CBDC is an acronym for Central Bank Digital Currency. And if this is the first you're hearing about it, start learning about it, because it's going to affect your life very dramatically, very quickly. These CBDCs, Central Bank Digital Currencies, let's start with a baseline, okay, about what they are. Now, central bank digital currencies are going to be an electronic form of our fiat currencies. They, in effect, want to replace our traditional paper currencies, in our case, the US dollar, with digital coins, digital currencies. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's cool, Ed. I mean, the government is catching up to the private market. So well, thing is, don't confuse the government's version of a digital currency with the private version. The only real cryptocurrency in the world is actually Bitcoin. All the other guys are not really cryptocurrencies. It's kind of a misnomer. But in the case of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is non-programmable and it's decentralized, okay? Meaning that no one entity controls it. There are 21 million Bitcoin. That's all there ever was. It's all there'll ever be. It's decentralized. Nobody can change it. It's immutable. It's an immutable code, right? However, with the government digital currencies, they are both programmable, okay, and they're centralized. Let's start with centralized. Centralized means the government is going to control it. In our case, it's going to be the Federal Reserve. Okay, every major country out there in the world is developing their own digital currency, their own CBDC. Ours is nicknamed the Fed coin. Right? And the Federal Reserve is going to be in charge of it. They're going to control it. Okay, so it's centralized. Okay, so that's one big difference between that and Bitcoin. The other big difference, and the more insidious difference, is the fact that the government coin will be programmable, which means they can determine what you spend your money on. And also, they're going to know exactly what you're spending your money on. Your money is no longer going to be transparent. You can't take your $100 bill and go down to the store and spend it. They want you spent using their Fed coin, so they're going to know what you're buying. And I'm going to show you a couple clips here that kind of will kind of illustrate, the dangers of this. So I'm going to start with a clip from the president of the BIS. The BIS. There's a little aha moment for you, a little reveal for you. The BIS is an acronym for the Bank of International Settlements, okay, headquartered in Basel, Switzerland. Now, this is an evil outfit, and it's headquartered in Switzerland. These are the people who brought us the bail-in laws. That's a subject for another video. But the BIS stands at the pinnacle. If you think of the world financial system as a pyramid, we're at the bottom. Okay, we're the customers. We buy and sell stuff, right? And then above us sits our banks. Okay, your local bank, and above your bank sits, in our case, the Federal Reserve. That's our central bank. Then above the Federal Reserve, internationally, you have the IMF, and then you got the BIS. So the BIS is the tip of the spear in the world financial system. And they are largely dictating a lot of the rules that's being passed down to all other central banks, and then filtering down to the regular banks, and then to us. So you have unelected officials at this bank, a very powerful bank in Switzerland, making decisions that affects our lives. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to show you a clip of the president of the BIS himself describing to you how the CBDC works. Bear with me a second here. Here we go.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
All right. So there you had to hear it. Absolute control. Those were his words. They're going to have absolute control over your money. All right. So if that doesn't send shivers down your spine, I don't know what will. So they don't want your money to be anonymous. And he said, yeah, so if you have $100 bill, we don't know what you're spending your money on. That's a problem. Look, that for centuries has been the basis of the modern economy, is our ability to be able to spend our money the way we want. Anonymity was very important. They want to take that anonymity from us. And to drive that home, that point even further, I'm going to show you a clip here now from one of the fellows at the IMF. And listen to this gentleman.
And finally, the third way we think CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contracts, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food. So this potential programmability can help government agencies to precisely target their support to those people who need support. So that way can also improve.
Okay, so there you go. Programmability. For them, they see it as a virtue. They want to be able to control your life. Okay, so the reason why I'm showing you these clips is to point out to you that I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, they're telling us, for those who are willing to listen, for those whose ears are open, they're telling you exactly what their plan is. All you have to do is pay attention. Okay, so every country is going to develop their own CBDC. In our case, it's going to be the Fed coin. And then above them is going to sit this brand new token that's just been created by the IMF and associated with an outfit called the UDMC. And that is called it's going to be called the Unicoin. Let's see if I can pull up the announcement here for you. Okay, so the Digital Currency Monetary Authority, DCMA, launches an international central bank digital currency. Okay, now this currency is going to be called the Universal Monetary Unit, right? But the nickname for it is going to be the Unicoin. This coin is going to sit above our digital currency. So again, every country will have their own CBDC, and then sitting above them will be this universal CBDC that we can exchange our CBDs for. So this was just announced last week, about a week ago, the use of this Unicoin. That was the final piece of the puzzle. This is all happening very, very quickly. And that last piece of the puzzle it gives them the runway, gives them the green light to implement a worldwide CBDC program. Now, everyone has to be worried about this because our freedoms are directly affected by this. They are methodically taking away our freedoms. If you want to, they have those coins and they're programmable, they can dictate what you spend your money on. You know, if you buy too much steak, they can turn off your coin. Okay, if you want to buy a car that actually runs on gasoline, they can turn off your car, or they can say no. They're going to control what you can spend your money on. They're going to see what you're spending your money on. And if you're a bad citizen, you might not be able to buy that plane ticket. You know, this is what we're going for. This is communist style lifestyle that we have coming our way. And I don't know, is there anything we can do about it? Well, there are some things you can do about it. Small things to start with. I don't know whether it's going to be completely avoidable. The first thing you do is number one, reduce your exposure to your bank. Number two, put some of that money into gold and silver. And number three, establish streams of passive recurring income. Those familiar with my channel, they'll know that's been my mantra on my channel for quite a while. And also, if you have an elected official, in the next election, ask your official, ask the candidate how he feels about CBDCs. And if he's okay with it, find someone else to vote for. All right, that's one little thing you can do. Is there any kind of a pushback? You might be saying, oh, Ed, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. If this is such a big deal, why isn't anybody pushing back? And you're preaching to the choir on that one. Why isn't anyone pushing back? Partly because the media has been giving these people cover. I mean, again, how many of you out there even know what CBDCs are? How do you know? I mean, our cash, have you noticed it's hard to get cash out of your bank, and it's hard to do any business with cash? It's the old boiling frog syndrome, right? They're slowly they're making you become comfortable with the idea of not dealing with cash. But this is their end game. But there's a little bit of pushback. I'll show you a little clip here from Representative Emmers. And actually, I'm from Minnesota, and he's from Minnesota. Too bad he's a Democrat, but I'll give credit where credit is due. So let's listen to what Mr. Emmers has to say. Actually, there's a couple clips in here, so just bear with me. They're all really good. They're short, but they're really good.
But in the end, the ultimate objective is to essentially wipe all of the banks out so that your bank will be the Federal Reserve. Everything will be centralized. And again, this is not really about the money, although of course it is. This is about power and control, because the government, such as it is, will have access to all of the information related to every single transaction you make.
As Sanders is urging the state legislature to block the use of the digital currency in Florida if it's ever implemented.
This is protecting your autonomy. This is protecting your freedom to make decisions.
Governor Ron DeSantis took aim at a new currency the Biden administration is exploring.
Are you interested in giving these economic central planners more power over our economy, more power over your daily life and your economic activity? And I answer that question, HE double hockey sticks, no.
Today, I want to take the opportunity to talk about an important piece of legislation that may or may not yet be on your radar. Last week, I introduced the Central Bank Digital Currency Anti-Surveillance State Act to halt the efforts of unelected bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. from stripping Americans of their right to financial privacy. Digital assets in the digital economy are the future, but the Federal Reserve should play no role in developing a central bank digital currency, or otherwise known as a CBDC.
Okay, and I have a bunch of other clips. I got pretty enthusiastic here with our first episode. It's on all sorts of stuff, but I'm hogging the limelight here, and I'm afraid that Rob is over there saying, "Come on, Anderson, finish it up already." So, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you. Any thoughts on what I just covered?
Yeah, I got to unmute myself before I speak. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for that, Ed. I think it's a really important topic that's just not discussed. And I remember having this conversation with my brother. So my brother is kind of another outlet that I have for myself. And we talk about all these sorts of things all the time as well, which is pretty interesting. But I said to him, no, this is going to take ages. The government is so slow to move. There's just no chance that they're going to be able to actually do something quickly. And then he reminded me, he said, that's not true, Rob. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, think of COVID. Think of how quickly the government just clicked their fingers and locked the whole country down. And if the politicians want to move quickly and they want to get something done quickly, they have absolute power to do so. It's actually not true that you live in a democracy. It's not true that you have some say in how the place is run. You have no say in how it's run. You have no way to actually to make any difference. Unless you're one of those elected officials, the only way that you can make a difference is to pass legislation and help people or push back on that legislation like you just showed from those clips. So, it's a scary time in history, but it's also a pretty exciting time in history. because when there's rapid change like this, I believe there's rapid opportunity as well. So it's all a matter of perspective. You've got to figure out what you can do to try and capitalize on these opportunities. And if there even is an opportunity, and if there is no opportunity, what can you do as an individual to position yourself so this is not going to impact your life? And to your point, get your money out of the bank, get some gold and silver, and create some passive recurring income for yourself. However you do that, that's the thing that's going to position yourself. So no matter what the government does, no matter what rules or regulations they enforce, you can rest assured that your financial position will be solid because you've got gold and silver. There's no exposure to the banks that are going to go away or not going to go away because you've parked all of your money into gold and silver, not all of it, but most of it. And then if you've got passive recurring income that you don't have to swap your time for money for, using big tech as well is what I would say. If you can use big tech in some way, shape or form to create that passive recurring income for yourself, because big tech's not going anywhere. YouTube's not going anywhere. Rumble's not going anywhere. Facebook's not going anywhere. Neither is Instagram or Twitter. So if you can figure out a way to make money in and around these platforms or using these platforms, I think that that's something that can help you to develop a little bit more security. What do you think?
Yeah, well, 100% agree. I got to find somebody I disagree with, man. This is people out there going to think these guys agree on everything. But no, I agree. How can you argue with that? The underlying, if you trace back, if you follow the breadcrumbs, you can trace everything back to this climate change nonsense, and that'll be tough for a whole nother video where how it is nonsense. It is a scam. But listen, the CBDCs, they want to control what you can spend your money on, and they're going to limit it. They want you buying electric cars. They want you eating bug-based food. They want you not spending so much on electricity. Everything's going to be about your carbon footprint and how they can.
Let me push back on you there, Ed. Yeah, because we don't disagree on much, but let me push back. Imagine if you were Elon Musk and you had your team sitting around the boardroom and, okay, we're ready to go to Mars. Fast forward like 15 years into the future. We're ready to go to Mars. We're ready to get set up. The first settlers have gone there, so to speak, and now we're ready because he wants to put 1 million people on Mars, right? And we want to put 1 million people there. How are we going to set up the financial system over there? Because we can't do that with fiat currencies. It won't work because every fiat currency that's ever existed has collapsed. We can't dig gold out of the ground on Mars because we don't know if it's there or not. And there's probably some other minerals that we probably could dig out of there to back whatever currency that we had. So the only choice that you would have in that case is to create some sort of credit-based system, a little bit like the movie we were laughing about it yesterday, Total Recall. He goes to Mars and he has to pay for the taxi and he's paying with the credits. So how would you do it if you went to a place like that? And the answer is you have to do it with computers and you have to do it with blockchain. And because blockchain is the immutable ledger that can't be changed. But the nefarious part about it is that if you can program that money, meaning I give that credit across to the teller to buy whatever I'm trying to buy, and they go, sorry, your card doesn't work. You can't eat a piece of steak today. Well, okay, cool. I'll eat a piece of fish instead. No, can't eat that either. Well, I'll eat a piece of chicken. No, can't eat that either. And you're kind of going down the scale of things to suddenly you have to eat bugs. That's the only thing that's available to you, or vegetables. That's the only thing that's available to you. Well, that's where it's really nefarious. But my question to you is, how else would you do it if you went to Mars? Well, and that's what these people on planet Earth right now are trying to do. They're trying to recreate a financial system as if we were somewhere else. And in some ways, there's some good things associated with that because they're trying to fix and solve the problems of the past. But the fact that it's run by the 0.00001% of society makes it nefarious because they're the ones that will control everything. If it wasn't controlled by these evil people at the top of that food chain, then maybe these things wouldn't be such a bad thing after all. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in, is it?
Well, no, I mean, look, the monetary systems do work in theory if you stick, but when you get people with agendas that come who rig the system, listen, there's a little thing called Bitcoin. I'm talking about a pure financial system. Don't wait, that's it. There's 21 million coins. That's it, and it's immutable. They can't add more.
Oh, we could fly. Oh, we could fly.